Welcome back, everybody, to Bridgeport, Connecticut. We are just about set for the start of tonight's opening round doubleheader with St. Peter's against Canisius to be followed by Ryder and Iona. Along with Rob Kennedy, this is Doug Sherman, and it'll all wind down Monday night at 9 o'clock with the championship game. Our Verizon Wireless keys to the game. As you see, Verizon Wireless, we never stop working for you.
Well, for St. Peter's, they've got a very short bench. They've got to limit Canisius' possessions. On the other side, Canisius wants to push the pace. For St. Peter's, because they're going to limit possessions, they've got to execute late in the shot clock. And then for Canisius to be able to push the pace and get out and run, they've got to rebound the basketball.
Tonight's coaching matchup brought to you by Anaconda Sports and The Rock. John Dunn and Tom Parada, both in their first years as head coaches. The Rock, the official basketball of the MAAC. John Dunn enjoying a cool refreshment as we get set for what will be a long evening of basketball. The next 5 hours, two teams will see their seasons come to an end, and that's why they call it March Madness, because you never know what's going to happen. The officials tonight: Tom Lopes, Paul Fea, Mike McCloskey. And you see St. Peter's as the lower seed in the road blue uniforms, and Canisius the higher seed in the white uniforms. But the Golden Griffins come in as the coldest team in the league, having lost 8 in a row, and they don't want to win their ninth, or lose their 9th in a row, rather, obviously, and that would be the longest losing streak for Canisius in 2 decades, Rob.
But when you look inside that losing streak, as they're able to score over top on a nice alley-oop on a weak side back screen, when you look inside that 8-game losing streak, 6 of those games have been against Niagara, Loyola, and Ryder, and they've played Niagara tough, the second seed, lost at home in overtime, and certainly played very well last time out against Loyola. Had a 9-point lead with 6.5 minutes left to play in that game before the Greyhounds were able to come back, get the win, and secure the 3rd seed in the tournament.
Well, Rob, Griffin's head coach Tom Parada said earlier this week that he still feels pretty good despite the recent slide. And outside of a couple of clunkers, he says we have competed every single night all year long and during the losing streak.
And the losing streak really began when they got sick and had a couple guys out of the lineup. Corey Herring with the flu. You had a knee injury to Chuck Harris. Chuck Harris still bothered by that knee injury. So certainly they've not been at full strength throughout this losing streak.
One man who has been at full strength all season, the man with the basketball, Frank Turner, a 5'10 freshman from Atlantic City, New Jersey, who yesterday, along with Edwin Ubilis of Siena, were named co-rookies of the year. Another good freshman for Canisius, Javon Robinson, knocks down the long-range shot.
Robinson had a good game the last time against St. Peter's, but Doug, that was way back on January 13th, so Canisius swept the season series, but that was way back in January. Both these teams much different than they were back then.
Backdoor lob to nobody. Hakeem Gooding apparently was the intended recipient, but Kevin Span's pass goes untouched out of bounds. And we take a look at our Pontiac Series history. 57th meeting with Canisius, as you see, having the advantage all time. First time they've met in the tournament in 6 years.
As we said, Canisius was able to sweep this season series, and both games were low scoring. Well, as of late, Canisius really playing up-tempo, scoring the basketball. Problem is they haven't been defending very well.
And St. Peter's needs to do a much better job on the boards against Darnell Wilson and the Griffs. One of those 2 games, the discrepancy was quite stark. 45-27, Canisius out-rebounded St. Peter's back on January 13th, and Wilson was a big part of that with 12 rebounds.
We talk about the fact that they've not been guarding people. See, in their last 7 games, opponents have been scoring over 83 points per game. One of the reasons why they've not been able to get wins. You got to guard people if you're going to win games.
St. Peter's still looking for its first bucket. Darnell Wilson blocks it into the cheerleaders section. And with 11 on the shot clock, St. Peter's will try to inbound.
Good defensive rotation. Wilson, a guy with terrific timing, gets off the floor quickly.
Well, he is a terrific shot blocker, averaging 1 per game this season. Orta has it rattle out, and Wilson grabs the defensive rebound.
He's got to knock down some threes if St. Peter's going to stay around in this ball game.
Orta is the leading scorer this season for St. Peter's at 13 points per game. He's a good 3-point shooter as well, 37%. And as you say, Rob, they do need him to provide leadership and points.
Well, certainly at times defenses, Doug, have been able to take him out of the game. He's a rhythm shooter, and if he's not able to get off some open good looks, defenses have been able to hold him down.
Here's Corey Herring, along with Javon Robinson, Darnell Wilson. Mike Harris, or rather Chuck Harris, takes the feed, misfires on the perimeter jump shot, and Brandon Brock, the 6'3 sophomore from Newburgh, New York, triggers the break, but it doesn't come up with any points, and so the Griffs running it back the other way.
And this is the pace that they want.
And Harris will slow it down and hand it off to the co-rookie of the year. The foul goes against Brandon Brock. Non-shooting foul.
One of the things, Doug, early on in postseason tournaments and conference tournaments, it's really important that you bring energy early, especially sometimes opening round games at a big building with not much of a crowd. You've got to create that energy and enthusiasm. You're not going to necessarily get it from the crowd.
Brock with a defensive rebound, and Rob, I would imagine that especially with the senior core that Canisius has, they would probably inherently have the sense of urgency that you need in this tournament, as the putback by Tom Sowell.
And the experience as well of playing in tournaments. And they've won games 5 out of the last 7 years. Canisius has won at least one game in the MAAC tournament.
Nice feed from one senior to the other. Harris from Wilson for 2.
When they've executed in their half court, Canisius has gotten a couple easy looks inside.
Well, they both are third-team All-MAAC performers. Both seniors having very good final years at Canisius College. Tough shot by Brock, and Herring dives to save Wilson, and the Griffs in the front court. Foul on the entry pass. Spann was the only one back defensively and knew he was stuck against Wilson on the post. It's been a slow start for the Peacocks of St. Peter's College, trailing 7-2 to the Golden Griffins.
Canisius College in the city of Buffalo, one of 28 Jesuit universities across the nation, offering more than 70 undergraduate and graduate programs in the liberal arts, business, and education. Canisius prepares graduates to become leaders in their professions and in their communities. Leaders are made.
This game is brought to you by Pepsi. More happy. I love New York. What a great vacation. ILoveNY.com. Pontiac, the official performance machines of the MAAC. And by Anaconda Sports and The Rock, the official basketball of the MAAC. Back in Bridgeport, Connecticut, Canisius with the early lead over St. Peter's, and the Golden Griffins trying to forget about the end of the regular season, whereas we talked about they lost 8 in a row, including their regular season finale in a terrific game to Loyola, where they blew a late lead. The Greyhounds out in Buffalo rallied back, and so the Griffs trying to turn things around and turn the page, and that's the whole mantra whenever you get into a conference tournament, especially when you're one of the lower seeds. There's Wilson from Harris, again the senior combination for an easy layup.
And again, in their half court, Doug, they've gotten 3 wide open layups executing in their half court offense.
Now St. Peter's has gotten a few layups. They just haven't been able to make them.
Yeah, just 1 for 7 from the floor so far tonight. When they lost their second meeting 68-47 in the regular season against Canisius, they shot just 29% from the field. So the Griffins haven't been able to guard a whole lot of teams, but they certainly have shown the ability to guard the Peacocks.
Tough shot by Spann, couple of steps beyond the three-point line, and it was a challenged shot. Nice job by Gooding, though, to track down the rebound in the corner. Here is Sowell, the one inside presence for the Peacocks, and he has all 4 St. Peter's points so far.
And they've got to take advantage of him. Doesn't matter whether it's man or zone as it was on that possession. Sowell can really carve out space in the paint.
Harris with a nice catch and shoot, very much in rhythm there.
So again, once again, terrific execution out of the half-court offense. They've gotten 3 layups and 2 good looks from 3 right at the top of the key. Todd Sowell just stepping up, making himself available against the zone defense, and when he gets it that deep into the paint, that's a problem. As we said, good execution out of the half-court offense. Nice screen in for a nice open look from beyond the three-point line. The best shot you can get from three straight on right at the top of the key. They've gotten 2 from that exact spot.
And there is Sowell. And he is the man who will hopefully offset the poor outside shooting so far. He's the man inside, averaging nearly 13 points and over 8 rebounds per game. MAAC fans, get in the game. Play the MAAC Trivia Challenge powered by Verizon Wireless. Just text the word MAAC to 2244 from your Verizon Wireless phone for your chance to win cool prizes only from Verizon Wireless. Verizon Wireless, we never stop working for you. First foul on Darnell Wilson, number 2 against Canisius here in the opening game of the 2007 Bank of America MAAC tournament. Very short bench for St. Peter's. Sowell is the one instant offense coming off that bench, and right on cue, he now has all 6 St. Peter's points.
He gets so much of his scoring done inside, deep in the paint, that time facing up from 15.
Harris uses the Herring screen to get rid of Spittler, one of the most dogged defenders in the conference. Spann clears the rebound. Here's Orta from the left corner with Wilson closing, and Wilson picks up his 2nd foul. And so Orta will shoot 3 free throws.
Now the zone defense. Wilson trying to get out and challenge out in the deep corner. As we said, Orta, a terrific 3-point shooter. You see catch and shot. You see the rotation on the basketball, but Wilson got himself caught just a little too deep in the zone, and by the time he closed out, got a piece of him.
And after this free throw, Wilson will be removed after having picked up his 2nd foul.
Certainly that becomes a factor, his rebounding, shot blocking ability, and ability to score it inside, especially having to defend in the post against Sowell. Sowell's 3 for 4 from the floor, Doug. The rest of the Peacocks 0 for 6. So you see how important Sowell is to this St. Peter's team.
Get the ball to number 34.
Especially in the paint. He's got the ability to just dominate inside. And he's a guy who's put up numbers, as we see Darnell Wilson on the bench with his 2nd foul. But Sowell was a guy who put up numbers that might have been good enough to be on an all-MAAC team, but certainly the Peacocks struggling all season long with just 5 wins. Sometimes hard to get yourself on one of those all-conference teams when your team doesn't win.
Yeah, that is certainly the case. Sowell in the preseason was picked by the coaches to make 3rd team All-MAAC, and statistically he was probably worthy of that again. But like you say, when the overall team record is 5-24, it's doubly hard to get on one of those all-star teams. Akeem Gooding gets into the scoring column.
So after St. Peter's got off to a slow start, and it looked like Canisius had some good early energy, St. Peter's now in the midst of a 7-0 run to get themselves right back into the ball game.
A whistle and a foul off the ball called against Gooding.
Trying to defend against the flex cut. Inside back screen.
Javon Robinson, a freshman from Boston, off to the freshman point guard from Atlantic City, New Jersey. We've yet to see Turner really turn on the Jets. He could be the fastest player with the basketball in the conference.
Yeah, and he's shown that throughout, especially as Canisius has really picked up the pace here at the end of the season, trying to get out and run, and it's hard to run and catch up to Frank Turner.
Here goes Turner, going to have to try and create with 5 to shoot. Misses the iron, rebounds Sowell, but a bad entry pass, or outlet pass rather, nearly stolen. Spann comes away with it.
And that's the one thing that Turner really has to continue to work on. He's got to be able to knock down threes to force people to go guard him out behind the arc.
Gooding with a nice looking pull-up, and St. Peter's has taken the lead.
Oh boy, and the way this game started, they were 1 for 7 from the floor. Canisius was executing, getting early shots. You thought maybe this was going to be a situation where St. Peter's was going to fold, but the Peacocks have done the complete opposite.
Well, Todd Sowell kept the Peacocks alive early, and then his teammates have picked him up. And Akeem Gooding and the boys have taken the lead 13-12.
MAAC fans can win great prizes in the MAAC Pathmark Slam Dunk program at area Pathmark stores. Use your Pathmark Advantage card to buy select Capri Sun Base 10 packs or Capri Sun Roaring Waters. Select Kool-Aid Jammers 10 packs or select Nabisco Single Serve Tray packs. And you're entered to win a Pathmark gift card and round-trip travel on JetBlue Airways or a gift card from FYE. For information, visit your local Pathmark store or MAACsports.com.
450 years of Jesuit tradition are woven into a Fairfield University education, an education characterized by academic excellence and service to the community. Fairfield's success is fostered by a caring faculty that knows their students as individuals. Located just an hour from New York City, Fairfield University combines a park-like campus conducive to learning with the city's cultural and career advantages. Fairfield University, where education reflects the challenges and opportunities of a changing world.
It's the first round of the 2007 MAAC basketball tournament in Bridgeport, Connecticut. St. Peter's with a 1-point lead. They are on a run. The Peacocks have taken control after Canisius jumped out to a quick 12-4 lead. Well, we talk about all year long, this has been quite a turnaround in terms of the head coaches in the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference, and we're seeing two of the first-year head coaches here tonight. John Dunn, who was an assistant in the conference prior to being named the head coach, as was Tom Parada. Parada also played in the MAAC at Fordham back in the day.
Yeah, his 11th MAAC tournament appearance. 4 as a player at Fordham and 6 as an assistant coach at Niagara.
Dunn was an assistant coach at Manhattan College and also Siena College before going to Seton Hall and then now to the Jersey City School. Another foul on a three-point try, and Orta, who just hit 3 straight free throws, thanks to the foul against Frank Turner, gets 3 more.
And he's yet to hit a field goal, but again, scouting report comes in and says you got to close out to Raul Orta, but you've got to challenge, but you cannot give up the foul. Don't foul jump shooters, but you got to get a hand in his face.
And Raul Orta is not among the league leaders in free throw shooting percentage, only because he's not taken enough free throws to qualify this year. But at the rate he's shooting them tonight, he's going to jump right in there.
Well, you usually don't get yourself to the line if you take so many threes.
But he is a perfect 6 for 6 here in the early going, and the run for St. Peter's continues. The lead goes to 4.
And a lot of that run has been with Darnell Wilson on the bench when he picked up his second foul trying to go out and challenge Orta on the perimeter.
It's a 12-0 run. 6 of the 12 have been on foul shots by Orta. Span with the pull-up. And the Peacocks are on fire. 14 straight points.
Well, it started when they pounded the ball inside to Sowell, got him off the schneid, and then since then his teammates have responded.
Sowell called for the foul.
Span able to get himself into the lane. Nice pull-up as the defender runs by. Nice follow through as he stayed with that shot.
Well, he became the starting point guard midway through his freshman season last year. At that point, he had Keedron Clark as his running mate. This year, as with all the other Peacocks, he's had a lot more responsibility thrust upon him. And Span is averaging just under 12 points per game. Sean James gets 1 out of 2, and that breaks the St. Peter's run.
Back into the zone defense. Remember, they've been able to find Sowell inside. When you play inside out, Orta gets himself some good looks. That was not a good look.
Quickly back the other way. Turner tries to spin on Span. Still with the dribble. And now the Golden Griffins will pull it back out.
Well, they certainly have not been able to push the pace here in the early going. Most of their baskets have been out of half-court execution. They've not been able to get out on the run.
Tough-looking shot from Robinson. Almost got it to fall.
See the field goal shooting. Nearly 5 minutes without a field goal for the Golden Griffs, and St. Peter's continues to find room inside so well. Nobody able to put a body on him. The foul trouble to Darnell Wilson has been a big story here in the first half.
It's now a 16-1 run, and we had seen Harris and Wilson on the offensive end hook up to get each other easy baskets, but with Wilson out, Harris is fending for himself a little bit.
And Sewell doing a good job carving out space. As he finally comes up with the basketball, you see he's got the upper body strength to fight through contact. Tom Parada sensing that you need to do something to get a counter to Todd Sewell inside. Gets Darnell Wilson back into the game with his 2 fouls.
Now the other senior in the Canisius mix is Corey Herring. He, though, transferred from Baylor University to Canisius College, so it's been Wilson and Harris, the 2 4-year players, and trying to extend their careers at least one more night. Robinson takes a hop step, misses the rim, and Spittler tracks down the long rebound.
The Griffins are only going to go as far as their seniors will take them. Right now, they're not stepping up and taking shots.
Span with a terrific setup for Sewell, but he couldn't finish. Turner and a hip check against Spittler.
And Doug, one of the few times we've seen Turner be able to get out and run. You've got to rebound the basketball, come up with some loose balls, and then Canisius has to make sure that they continue to push the pace and try and find some stuff in transition. Turner does a really good job of getting himself to the line because he gets so deep into the lane with that quickness.
And Spittler picks up his 2nd foul and is replaced in the lineup by Brandon Brock. Also, Sewell goes out, and Kinsey Reeves, the starter in the pivot, comes back into the ballgame. Big number 41 in blue. Quick baseline move by Herring, but he couldn't get the reverse to fall. Wilson up and over Kinsey Reeves, and there is the presence of Darnell Wilson immediately coming off the bench and going to the line.
And that's why Tom Parada got him back into the game, sensing that his team was sluggish after a quick start. Darnell Wilson with his quickness off the floor. He's long and does a good job, as we said, defensively challenging shots inside, but he's a guy that they need to have on the floor here this evening.
Now, Loyola coach Jimmy Patso says that Wilson, really has been hampered by the fact that he's had to play the number 5 position, the center position. He's much more of a natural 3 or 4. As you see the struggles in February, hoping that March is a little more kind. And Wilson is a guy with all the athletic ability in the world, and you almost wish for a guy like him he could play in the position that he seems most suited for.
Yeah, certainly not a guy who's most comfortable banging inside as a 5-man, as you're talking about. If he had the ability to play with another big body inside, it would take some of that physical toughness and banging that he gets leaned on game in and game out away from him and give him some room to maneuver.
Span with another pull-up. This one's off the mark. Gooding out quicks Wilson to the ball, but misses the putback. Pavel Malesa just into the game. Couldn't save it, and so St. Peter's with another possession.
And so far here in the last 5-10 minutes, St. Peter's has been much quicker to the basketball. Loose balls, offensive rebounds, then has Canisius.
Brock, nice shovel pass to Reeves, who wasn't ready for it, couldn't catch it. And so now here comes Turner, trying to create with the spin, and he was tripped to the hardwood. A foul against St. Peter's, and that takes us to our next commercial break. We'll take a break from the arena at Harbor Yard in Bridgeport, Connecticut.
I know most of you just graduated high school last year, or maybe you've been working for a while, seen some things, done some things, but nothing has prepared you for what's going to happen now. We're going to set goals for each of you, way up here, here, way up here, and then we're going to help you exceed them, believe it. And when finished, you're going to have not just a degree, you'll be a different person, a better person. Welcome to Iona.
Aspire, achieve. Iona. Call Iona College at 1-800-231-IONA.
Back in Bridgeport, Connecticut, St. Peter's has taken a 6-point lead. This after Canisius had opened up a 12-4 lead. But we take a look at how the Peacocks have not only gotten back into the game, but assumed control, Rob.
Well, Todd Sowell came off the bench and gave him a big lift. They're able to find him inside, also carving out space at the high post. And then after he knocked down a couple shots, then his teammates started to do the same. It's a nice move there by Spann, but really Sowell was the guy that got them started, gave him a presence in the paint, knocked down a couple shots, and then since then, his teammates, as we said, have been able to step up and join Sowell. 8 points, 4 for 6 from the field, and doing a good job, Doug, of dominating that paint area.
Well, Sowell scored St. Peter's first 6 points in what seemed like an eternity, but since that time, Orta has scored 6, Gooding has scored 4, and you saw the Kevin Spann mid-range jumper. So 4 different Peacocks are in the scoring column. Turner, meanwhile, knocks down his first free throw. There are some of the numbers. Turner, number 2 in the league in assists, behind Player of the Year, Jared Jordan of Marist. And there you see Canisius has cooled off considerably since that first media timeout. It's been really tough sledding at the offensive end for the Griffs. And that Sowell's presence in the paint being felt here in the first half.
And that makes up for their inability to knock down threes. Orta has not made threes.
There's a young man who can make threes, a junior from Poland, Pavel Malesa.
They had 48 threes on the season coming in, and that's what he does. Comes into the game, gives him a little bit of energy, and stretches out the defense with his three-point shooting ability.
And if he knocks down his threes, he'll stay on the floor, and if he doesn't, he'll be back on the bench next to Coach Parada. Wilson with a nice catch, and he can't get the roll. Rebound by Brock.
As you said, Doug made a good catch, but there, where you're off balance, you got to put the ball up against the board and give it a chance.
St. Peter's with the ball in a 1-point lead. The winner of this one advances to the MAAC quarterfinals tomorrow afternoon against top-seeded Marist. That's scheduled to tip off at 4 o'clock here in Bridgeport.
And for Canisius, they were able to split the regular season for Marist, so if they were able to figure out a way to get past the Peacocks, they'd have some confidence going into that game, knowing that they were able to beat Marist during the regular season.
Turner picks his way through the St. Peter's defense and pulls it back out. Well, as we said at the top of the broadcast, Marist was the preseason favorite, lived up to that billing, won the regular season crown, had the Coach of the Year, had the Player of the Year, and certainly come into the tournament here this weekend as the favorite.
And come in playing terrific basketball, having won 8 straight. Both of the top seeds are in the midst of 8-game win streaks. Niagara as well, playing very good basketball coming down the stretch.
Brock drills the 3.
And you got to make some threes if Canisius is going to stay in the zone defense. Brock able to knock down the Peacocks' first 3.
Reeves with the foul. Wilson again shows his effectiveness on the post against a much bigger defender, and that's foul number 2 on Reeves.
And despite the 3 at the other end, Canisius rushes the ball up the floor quickly, and Darnell Wilson's going to be able to outrun your post no matter who it is, and there's where he can create the mismatch with his speed and athletic ability and agility to get up the floor.
Darnell Wilson at the line, a senior from Wayne, Michigan. He's the 10th leading scorer in the conference at 14 points per game. And he completes the 3-point play. It's back to a 1-point game, and now Canisius will have a chance to retake the lead off the turnover. Rob, we referenced a moment ago the preseason coaches poll, and Marist was the unanimous pick. And actually, as you look down the list, for the most part, other than Iona being placed 4th, and obviously they finished 10th, pretty much everything else fell into order finally.
Yeah, they did a good job and certainly done their homework throughout the offseason. But a lot of teams basically played up to their expectations. They also were able to tab the preseason Player of the Year in Jared Jordan. And again, we talk about the fact that they were able to meet those expectations, and that's never an easy thing to do.
Chuck Harris is walking gingerly now. He slipped and fell, and There you see he's trying to get that feeling back in the left leg. Not sure whether it's a knee or an ankle. He's able to knock down the pass, and Malaysia picks it up.
And he's been hobbled, missed 4 games with the knee injury. Canisius was 1-3 without him in the lineup. He really has not been able to practice over the last month of the season, 1 time a week, and involved in some shooting drills. So his lateral quickness certainly has been hampered, and he's hobbling around out there right now.
Corey Herring knocks down the 3, and Canisius with the momentum back in its favor, back with a 4-point lead.
Well, certainly it's been a game of runs, and talk about, you see Harris there just kind of stepping gingerly, and even before he went down, Doug, it almost looked as if he may have tweaked the knee. Senior trying to extend his career, and going to take more than slipping on the floor to get him off the floor.
Harris is from Detroit, Michigan, 6'3", 188 pounds, and he is the 9th leading scorer in the conference. And again, we take another look at it, and his foot gives out right there. And whether it was the Pepsi sticker or not, Harris went down fairly hard, but it looks like he'll be okay. But at the moment, he's heading to the end of the bench and will sit out for a little bit. Javon Robinson has come back in for Canisius. And we also get our first look at Menge Papi Aniam, a freshman from Cameroon, off the bench for the first time for the Golden Griffins.
Good job there, Doug. And Darnell Wilson. Tom Parada was able to stretch a few minutes with the 2 fouls. Wilson, certainly when he came back into the ball game, it stopped the long run for St. Peter's, got them going in the right direction. But now he'll try and protect Wilson with those 2 fouls.
You know, Rob, if this was a hockey game, Darnell Wilson by far would have the best plus minus.
And sometimes that's the most important thing. Shot clock once again winding down.
Brock with a nice feed. And Sowell is fouled by Malaysia before he goes up with a shot.
And that's that late execution we were talking about as one of the keys coming into the game.
It's been a game of runs so far. At the moment, the momentum is with Canisius. Back in Bridgeport, Connecticut for the Bank of America MAAC tournament. The opening night doubleheader has St. Peter's and Canisius playing the opener, to be followed by Iona versus Ryder. And glad you could be with us here tonight along with Rob Kennedy. This is Doug Sherman. Late in the first half of what has actually been a pretty well played first half, certainly competitive as they've gone back and forth.
And just 8 turnovers between the 2 teams. St. Peter's continues to struggle, though, beyond the 3-point line. Just 1 for 7 from deep for the Peacocks. The other side, Canisius 4 for 8 from behind the line.
Now at the offensive end, Rob, for St. Peter's, it's been a while since Sowell touched the ball, and he was the one who freed everybody else up with his 8 points.
Again, bringing Darnell Wilson back into the game to stop the run, get them a little bit of a lift. Wilson was able to score and defend inside against Sowell. That worked out very well for Canisius.
And what worked out well also is that he didn't pick up his 3rd personal foul, and Coach Parada was able to get him back to the bench before he did pick up that big 3rd foul.
Yep, so sometimes you roll the dice and it comes up snake eyes. That time, able to certainly get a couple important minutes with Wilson with those 2 fouls.
Akeem Gooding, Raul Orta, Brandon Brock, Kevin Spann, and Todd Sowell on the floor for the Peacocks.
And Canisius out of the zone defense has to figure out a way to shut off passing lanes to Sowell. He was wide open 2 or 3 times on that possession. His teammates just unable to find him inside.
Canisius with a 4-point lead. Turner, nice pass to Aniam, who then dribbled it off his foot out of bounds. Did a nice job to gather, collect, and then he dribbled it off his foot.
Yeah, couldn't make the clean catch. And see Tom Parada talking to Chuck Harris, who we saw go down, slip. As we said, he's been bothered by a knee injury throughout this last month and a half of the season, and hopefully he'll be able to get back on the floor.
As you mentioned, he missed some time, got back into the lineup February 2nd. But since that time, it's been tenuous at times as the knee has not gotten fully healthy. Robinson kicks to Herring, who just knocked down a three-pointer moments ago. Nice move by Robinson, but he can't finish. So well came over to make him change the shot.
And second time we've seen him beat the first defender, but not able to finish the play.
Sowell is called for the travel. Under 2 minutes remaining in the first half. And coming up at the half, among the highlights we have for you, yesterday Rob sat down and had a conversation with the 2007 MAAC Coach of the Year, Matt Brady, who comes in with the bullseye. We talked at MAAC Media Day with Coach Brady, saying, well, as the preseason favorite, you've got the bullseye. And he said, yes, we do. We fully embrace it, and that's the way it goes, and that's the way it is this weekend as well.
His team has played that way all season long. They expected themselves to win the MAAC regular season championship coming into it as well. So it wasn't just what other people thought, media and other coaches. Their players also thought that they were the team to beat coming into the season.
As well they should have. A senior-laden lineup with lots of talent. It certainly seems to be their year, but as we said, Niagara's been playing as well as anybody. Loyola has shown that it can hang and beat most anybody, if not anybody in the league. And then Siena as well. If Siena beats Marist in that Saturday game in the last weekend of the regular season, instead of losing in overtime, Siena could have had the #1 seed. So that's how tightly bunched those top four are.
Well, absolutely. And when you look at the 1-4 matchup, if that comes through, Marist and Siena, both their games were in overtime. The 2-3 matchup, Niagara and Loyola, they had two great games.
Yep.
One in overtime. The other was a wild shootout, a high-scoring game that came down to the last possession also.
Gooding with the reverse off the nice feed from Spann.
And Gooding's given him a lift. He's been able to find some openings against the zone around the high post. He's got 6 points on an efficient 3 for 7 from the floor.
And the freshman out of Christ the King High School, averaging over 10 points per game. There's Malesa, 2 for 2 now from the perimeter. That was a 2-point shot, though. The first one was a 3-pointer, so he's got a total of 5.
And as you said earlier, Doug, when he makes shots, then all of a sudden he's going to stay out on the floor and get some more minutes.
The shot clock is now turned off. Game clock down to 20.
Once again, Canisius out of the zone now, trying to make sure that they match up and find order.
Brock with 4 seconds gives it back to Spann. And that's going to do it for the first half. It was a first 20 minutes of runs. Canisius jumped out early. St. Peter's, John Dunn's club, went on a 14-0 run to grab the lead. Then Canisius, led by its senior Darnell Wilson, came right back. And right now, heading into the break, it is 29-25 Golden Griffins. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll have our halftime show, including that interview with MAAC Coach of the Year, Matt Brady.
MAAC fans can win great prizes in the MAAC Pathmark Slam Dunk program at area Pathmark stores. Use your Pathmark Advantage card to buy select Capri Sun Base 10 packs or Capri Sun Roaring Waters. Select Kool-Aid Jammers 10 packs or select Nabisco single serve tray packs. And you're entered to win a Pathmark gift card and round trip travel on JetBlue Airways or a gift card from FYE. For information, visit your local Pathmark store or MAACsports.com.
This game is brought to you by Verizon Wireless. We never stop working for you. FYE, for your entertainment, music, movies, games, and more. And by Sirius Satellite Radio. Ride the big dog. We are set for the start of the second half. Canisius with a 4-point lead. And let's check the first half stats. Brought to you by FYE, for your entertainment, music, movies, games, and more.
Well, 3-point shooting. St. Peter's just 1 for 9 from beyond the 3-point line, including 0 for 2 for Raul Orta. We take a look at our Star Watch as well. Neither guy has scored a field goal. Frank Turner has not been able to get out in the open floor very much in the first 20 minutes of play.
Spann misfires to begin the second half. Herring with a quick pass up to the aforementioned Frank Turner. And he has his pass go out of bounds off of the Golden Griffins, so it's a turnover. And if there's been one part of Turner's game this year as a freshman that's been a problem area, it is turnovers. And, that is to be expected somewhat from a freshman point guard, and he has gotten better as the year has gone on. But so far tonight, turnovers have not been a problem.
And especially a freshman point guard that's going to push the pace, get out in the open floor, and try to be aggressive with the ball in his hand.
Well, in the regular season finale, here's the stat line for you for Turner. 19.7 rebounds, 4 assists, 7 turnovers. He did get himself to the line, 10 for 10 from the line, but he's had games like that. Early in the season at West Virginia, as a team, Canisius committed 30 turnovers, which is obviously next to impossible to overcome. But as the year has gone on, the turnovers haven't been as much of a problem. And here tonight again, that turnover that Turner just committed, just the 6th as a team for the Griffs. Robinson with a nice looking pull up. And the lead is 6, 31-25 Canisius.
And here is where St. Peter's has to remember about Todd Sowell. Get him the ball inside. He was the guy that got them going in the first half offensively. He's got to get touches inside.
Todd Sowell on the post calling for the ball. Tim Spittler, who has 2 fouls back into the game to start the second half, along with Spann, Orta, and Gooding.
And he's wide open as he flashes to the middle against the zone, but his teammates long time to find him.
Soule kicks to the charging Spittler, and he picks up the charge. And for Mr. Spittler, who spent a good chunk of that first half on the bench in foul trouble, he will go back to the bench after picking up his 3rd.
Well, you see, he kicks it out. Good defense, giving up your body. Wilson known more as a shot blocker, but that time able to just step over, plant himself, and force a 7th turnover for St. Peter's.
For Canisius, Turner, Harris, Herring, Wilson, and Robinson.
Wilson shaping up inside.
Nice job by Orta to come over and stop what looked like a dunk.
And on one end, you've got Todd Sowell shaping up against his own defense, flashing wide open in the middle of the floor, and his teammates don't find him. At the other end, the teammates find Darnell Wilson maneuvering inside.
On Orta, foul number 2. And so Wilson to the line, a 55% foul shooter.
And you've got to reward your big guys when they get themselves open inside. You've got to get them touches. For all that Darnell Wilson has done good all season long, Tom Parada knows that foul shooting not one of those things. Makes it difficult sometimes when you throw the ball into the post and you're open to go 1 for 2 from the line. Shoots it in the 50s.
So 0 for 2 that trip. And Orta, who committed the foul, gets the rebound. And St. Peter's down 6 with the basketball. Spann and Turner collide. No call. As the play continues, Brock misfires. Harris able to save to Robinson, who tips to Wilson, who wasn't looking. And again, the Golden Griffins fortunate to hold on to the basketball. Harris steps around Sowell, and a blocking foul on the shot. Well, after a quick start to the game, Chuck Harris has cooled down. But Harris, being proactive there, gets himself to the line. As mentioned, he was a 3rd-team All-MAAC performer this year, 14.8 points per game, 5 rebounds per game. He's also a member of the MAAC All-Scholar team, as he has been the last couple of years. This season, Aero Postal is donating a T-shirt for every free throw made during conference play to youth groups in the MAAC community. And heading into the tournament, over 2,500 free throws were made. Thank you very much, Aero Postal.
Canisius once again on the made foul shot, trying to extend their defense. They've only forced 1 turnover by extending the zone. They've played a ton of zone here this afternoon, and St. Peter's has been unable to shoot them out of the zone as they've not made 3-point shots.
Well, much like the first half, St. Peter's comes out at the offensive end sluggish until they go to Sowell, and here they go to Sowell to get their points.
Got to find them, get touches inside. It's a broken record. You see, very efficient, 5 for 7 from the floor. If his teammates would get him the ball some more against the zone when he's been open, he can continue to build on that.
And those were the first points scored by St. Peter's here in the half. Spann picks up the foul, going down to the post to help out Sowell.
Once again, Darnell Wilson doing a good job posting up, and his teammates find him. As we said, Wilson has struggled all season long from the foul line, just 55% from the line.
That foul on Spann, number 2. And there's a nice looking free throw from Mr. Wilson.
You can see when he gets the ball on the foul shot, kind of locks in that shooting arm as he tries to keep his elbow in. You see him lock it in right there as if to put it into the groove, but he shoots it flat, and if you don't get the ball up above the rim, you don't give it a chance.
After missing the second, a rebounding foul goes against St. Peter's. So nice hustle by Corey Herring to get into the paint and mix it up. Spann now with 3 fouls, and with a short St. Peter's bench, John Dunn will keep him in the ball game at least for now.
They can't afford, they really do not have an option, another guy to handle the basketball besides Spann.
Wilson with a quick move to the basket.
You got that right. You see that quick step through and then the explosion to get himself deep into the paint. He is quick and active inside.
And Wilson the first to reach double figures with 11. Brock, who shoots only 21% from three-point land. You could see Herring didn't step out to defend him, and that makes it tougher to get the ball into Sowell. You've got to be able to have somebody extend the defense. Harris with the putback. And the senior from Detroit just keeps working. The lead is very quickly up to double figures at 38-27.
And St. Peter's needs a timeout. They've got to get themselves going on the offensive end. You talked about it, Doug. John Dunn's team's got to figure out a way to start making some outside shots to free up the inside for Todd Sowell.
And to begin the second half, Canisius on a 9-2 run. We'll take a break as the Griffs have opened up a double-figure lead over the Peacocks here in Bridgeport.
It's a college in the city.
A college in the country.
It's big.
It's small.
It's modern.
Traditional.
It's Frisbee on the quad.
It's big-time basketball at the Garden.
It's the best of all worlds.
Manhattan College.
A world-class faculty and student body on a beautiful, quiet campus.
Minutes from the center of everything.
So come be a part of it. Manhattan College.
The best of all worlds.
We're back in Bridgeport, Connecticut. It's the 2007 Bank of America MAAC Basketball Championship. And let's talk a little perimeter defense. And if you're Canisius, you really don't have to get out and defend if St. Peter's doesn't knock down shots.
Now, St. Peter's just 1 for 12 from beyond the three-point line. And we take a look here. You're going to see that they're able to not worry about the perimeter. They certainly got to worry about orders. So now he's got a guy guarding him. When Brock gets the ball, freeze it right there. Nobody's guarding him. There's a reason why he's wide open. You'll see why. Let it run. He's a guy that doesn't make threes, as you said, 20% on the season. And you saw the defender not having to worry about guarding Brock. Instead, sitting on top and fronting Sowell, keeping the ball out of his hand.
So the guard trio of Brock, Orta, and Spann have combined for 2 for 17, as you see from the floor. And with that, it makes it that much more difficult to find the man in the paint, Todd Sowell, who you want to get the ball to.
On that possession, they found him. He couldn't corral it, and that's a turnover that leads to a quick 2 at the other end. One of the few times that Canisius has been able to get out on the run. Now stretching that run to 11-2 to stretch the lead to 13.
And thanks to that burst of speed by Frank Turner, he's got his first field goal of the night. And this is the largest lead of the night. Gooding shuffled his feet on the ball fake, and it goes back over to Canisius. We'll take another break. Canisius has opened up a 13-point lead over the St. Peter's Peacocks.
MAAC fans can win great prizes in the MAAC Pathmark Slam Dunk program at area Pathmark stores. Use your Pathmark Advantage card to buy select Capri Sun Base 10 packs or Capri Sun Roaring Waters. Select Kool-Aid Jammers 10 packs or select Nabisco single serve tray packs. And you're entered to win a Pathmark gift card and round trip travel on JetBlue Airways or a gift card from FYE. For information, visit your local Pathmark store or MAACsports.com.
Opened up a 13-point lead in the first game of the 2007 MAAC basketball tournament here in Bridgeport, Connecticut. It was a relatively close game at the intermission, but not so much at the moment. And fans want to find out where your favorite teams are in the standings throughout the year and here at the tournament. Just log on to MAACsports.com. Score, standings, much, much more. MAACsports.com. St. Peter's has scored just a pair of points here in the second half through the first 4.5 minutes, and despite the turnover by Corey Herring, it has been all Canisius so far.
Well, they had the run to end the first half and have continued it here. They've outscored the Peacocks 16-4 over the last 10 minutes of play.
And again, remember, St. Peter's had its own 14-0 run in the first half. Not often when you have your own 14-0 run, you're stuck 40-27 at this point of the game.
They made that run with Wilson on the bench with his 2 fouls. Tom Parada got him back into the game, and he certainly delivered. And sometimes you bring a guy back in and then he plays tentative. Wilson did not do that. He was aggressive on both ends of the floor and gave them the lift that they needed.
That time, St. Peter's able to find Sowell in good position, but at the other end, Wilson outruns Sowell. And in a foot race, it's no race. Clearly, Wilson is faster than Sowell, and he gets the easy dunk.
John Dunn unhappy with his team's transition defense. Canisius, as we said, one of the keys for them coming in was to push the pace. You can see John Dunn unhappy with his team's ability to get back. A lack of effort on the transition D. And as you said, Darnell Wilson with the ability to outrun people up the floor. Frank Turner pushing the pace and put the ball into Wilson's hands as he's able to move and not have guys bang him and hit him in the back and that kind of thing in a half-court offense. That's when he's most effective out on the run.
Well, we talked earlier this year, Rob, with head coach Tom Parada about the fact that Frank Turner doesn't necessarily have players around him that can always keep up with him. Darnell Wilson is one guy who can keep up with him on the break.
No question about that. And when he has some room to maneuver, it's kind of like Jason Thompson, the great player for Ryder as well. He's a guy that needs to be a moving target because he's not thick enough necessarily sometimes to just sit in the low post and bang with you.
And speaking of Jason Thompson, you'll get a chance to see him coming up next. The second game of our doubleheader pits the Ryder Broncs against the Iona Gales, and Thompson, a first-team all-conference performer who will likely next year be the preseason favorite for Player of the Year. Brock misfires. Sowell working the glass. Whistling a foul. I should also say Gerald Brown from Loyola is probably going to be in the mix next year as well. But Thompson, one of the bright stars in the league, and we will see him coming up after this ball game.
Yeah, 3 juniors on that first-team All-MAAC. That's Gerald Brown and certainly Jason Thompson and Sharon Fisher. You see 3-point field goals shooting not much better for St. Peter's here in the second half. Sowell pulls the string and misses badly. St. Peter's got to figure out a way. They've got to make some threes. Raul Order's got to step up, make some buckets, because if they don't, Canisius just able to stay in that zone defense and collapse inside.
Sowell with 13 points to match the 13 by Wilson on the other side. It's a 12-point Canisius lead. Here is Wilson guarded by Sowell. The big matchup so far tonight. Off the give and go. Sowell, the #1 shot blocker in school history, with the big denial. Span the runner, and he gets the roll.
And that's the type of energy baskets that St. Peter's needs. Team responding to John Dunn's timeout when he got after him for a lack of effort, getting back on the transition defense. But since then, they've come up with a couple offensive rebounds, and that time able to turn the nice block from Sowell into a transition bucket.
So here is that same matchup. Sowell doesn't get the block shot. This time Wilson able to score over him, and the Griffs back on top by 12.
Swing and a miss on that block attempt. Wilson able to score it inside, the exact same play. Little up screen, shuffle cut off the elbow, found himself wide open. See right here on the screen, able to get himself deep, take the contact. That time the block led to a quick score at the other end. As we said, St. Peter's able to get out and take advantage of the nice defensive play by Sowell.
Sowell misfires on the mid-range jumper. Wilson up to Harris. Seven minutes gone by here in the second half. The winner of this one takes on the top seed, Marist, tomorrow afternoon in the quarterfinals. 10 on the shot clock, and now Turner will reset. Harris with Brock all over him. Comes up short. Nice defensive stand by the Peacocks.
And he ball faked as if to try and get Brock off the floor to see if he could get himself to the line.
Gooding from 17. Got to knock down shots like that one when you're left wide open.
A couple open looks. Sowell from the foul line last time down. He came up empty. You see St. Peter's at just 32% from the floor on the game. One of the reasons why they trail by 12.
And Raul Orta still looking for his first field goal here tonight. Herring comes up short. Sowell with another rebound.
And you would figure against a team that's played basically all zone all game long that Orta would find some open looks from three.
Terrific ball movement from Orta to Gooding to Sowell for the easy layup.
Yeah, you don't force it if it's not there. When he catches the ball, at least guys have to run out and respect his shooting ability. That's when you get some passing lanes and the ability to find the big guy inside.
Sowell continues to be efficient, 7 for 10 from the floor. And if not for him here tonight, where would St. Peter's be? He has been pretty much the only answer so far. Robinson lost the dribble on the baseline. Herring able to save it off the leg of Orta. Good heads up, and the Griffs will have possession when we come back. Canisius with a 10-point lead over St. Peter's. Again, the winner moves on to the MAAC quarterfinals tomorrow afternoon.
Every choice really does make a difference. In you. In how you see the world. In where you'll go and what you'll do. In the people you'll touch. In the lives you'll change. Including yours. Niagara University. Education that makes a difference.
There's a look at Edwin Ubelis, the sensational freshman for the Siena Saints, who shares MAAC Co-Rookie of the Year honors with Frank Turner of Canisius. And we've seen Turner here tonight. We'll see Ubelis for the first time in the tournament tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock when the Saints take on the Manhattan Jaspers.
You can see from those numbers why they were Co-Rookies of the Year. Combined 11 times they were honored by the MAAC as Rookie of the Week. Certainly both guys a big reason for their team's success.
Harris from the corner with the shot clock winding down, and they say Brock got him on the elbow. And so, again, we have a chance for a 3-shot foul. We don't see that very often, and we saw Orta do it twice in the first half, and now Harris has a chance to do it here in the second half.
Yeah, all 6 of Orta's points came from the foul line, twice fouled from deep. That's a tough one, too, Doug, because it was late in the shot clock. You're coming off a timeout. You've got time to set your defense, and then, as we said, you want to make sure you get out and challenge shooters, but the last thing you want to do is foul a guy taking a three-point shot.
And the person who picked up the foul now has 3 personals, Brandon Brock. But he will play on. As we've talked about, head coach John Dunn really doesn't have many options on the bench. And Brock provides a physical presence and an energy on the floor that it's hard to replicate. And so he will stay out there at least for now.
See John Dunn pacing, and as he goes down his bench, just said, not a lot of answers. It's a short walk. I mean, there's only 8 guys dressed for the game. They basically go 7 deep. They've got a walk-on, a former football player at St. Peter's. Anabudo, who gets in and sees time every now and again, but basically just 7 deep.
Brock knocks it down. When he has hit his 2 3-pointers tonight, he has looked good, but he just does not hit a very high percentage. So as we showed earlier, Canisius won't defend him until he knocks down a couple more.
Well, he's got 2 3-point shots. Those are the only made 3-point shots that St. Peter's has on the game.
Harris tried to use the Herring screen, but a nice job defensively by Brock to stick with him. Sean James blocked by Sowell. Turner with the ball, shot clock down to 5. Shovel pass, drop it off Herring. He wasn't ready to catch and go up, and so he lost it. And St. Peter's back with the ball.
And you got to be ready for that, because you know when Turner gets by somebody into the lane that he's going to not necessarily look to finish the shot. Herring's got to come up and make this catch. Here's once again Todd Sowell, as we said, the all-time leading shot blocker. And then here comes the quickness of Turner, puts it right where it needs to be, and Herring just unable to make the play.
And Todd Sowell, Rob, is living proof that you don't need to be a great leaper to be a very good shot blocker. Now, Wilson for Canisius, great leaper and great shot blocker, but Sowell doesn't get off the floor, but he just has great timing and anticipation, stands his ground, and he has 3 blocks so far here tonight.
And that's the key, standing his ground, not getting up on ball fake, staying on the floor. With his size, he can body up against guys, and when he knocks you down low, then he's able to make sure that he goes up and challenge and get a piece of the ball to come up with the block.
James and Herring go out for Canisius. Pavel Malesa comes back in, as does Darnell Wilson.
You see Order just not with the confidence. Looked like he had a little bit of a gap to pull that shot off the baseline out of bounds from 3. Certainly Turner got out to challenge, but enough time for Order to let it fly.
Canisius had the lead at halftime, 29-25. They have expanded that here through the first half of half number 2. Spann with a long 3-point shot, and Harris with the rebound. One and done for the Peacocks. Turnover. Gooding almost turned it over, but fortunately for the Peacocks, Spann was there. Brock unable to hit the layup, and here comes Canisius back the other way. Ugly sequence for both sides. Neither team able to hold on to the basketball. Robinson with a bad pass. Sowell knocked it away, and Sowell said to his teammate Gooding, get that ball. And again, the Peacocks unable to make Canisius pay for what was a bad pass.
Yeah, smart play by Wilson, unable to come up with the offensive rebound, instead being able to tip it out to a teammate to retain possession.
And this is tough if you're St. Peter's.
Well, they've been able to just hang around. They've been unable to make 3-point shots.
This is the first game of the 2007 MAAC tournament. St. Peter's and Canisius here in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Doug Sherman along with Rob Kennedy. Glad you could be with us here tonight for the first of, well, lots of basketball over the next 3 nights. We'll be with you all day tomorrow with the quarterfinal round, and then the semis on Sunday, and then the MAAC championship game 9 o'clock on Monday night, and that'll be on ESPN2. The shot clock a factor again. Wilson had it blocked, I believe, by Sowell, although it looks like Sowell hit Wilson in the head, and Darnell is slow to jog back up to the other end. And because of that, St. Peter's cashes in with a layup.
And again, just hanging around, cutting the lead to 8. If they could start making some 3-point shots over top of the zone defense, certainly John Dunn's team has not packed it in, and that's a good sign for a team that's won just 5 games on the season. Coming in, finding yourself down by 13 in the second half. It's easy to pack it in, but the Peacocks have not done that.
MAAC basketball fans, you can win great prizes in the MAAC Pathmark Slam Dunk program at your local Pathmark store. Now through March the 9th, when you use your Pathmark Advantage card to buy select flavors of Capri Sun, or select Kool-Aid Jammer 10 packs, or select Nabisco single serve tray packs, you are entered to win a Pathmark gift card and round-trip travel on JetBlue Airways, or a gift card from FYE. For more information, visit your local Pathmark store. Log on to MAACsports.com or give Rob Kennedy a call. He can give you some details on what's best.
I think clearly you should be paid by the word for that promo.
Well, there's a lot of Capri Sun in there, and that's how you do it. Got to sell the product. Canisius has seen its lead cut to 8. Wilson has it taken away by Sowell, so the defense again taking a stand for the Peacocks.
And again, it's Todd Sowell with his defensive presence in the paint, coming up with some block shots. Somehow, though, they've got to figure out a way to get order looks against this zone.
Gooding with the drive. It's an air ball. And Wilson with another rebound.
Get yourself into the paint and then try and find order on the kick out into the corner. He was open, but once Gooding got into the lane, he put his head down, unable to find his teammate in that dead right corner.
Harris's shovel pass deflected by Sowell. Back out Malesa. Never shy to fire it up in a quick release. Turns into 3 more points.
And again, he's stepping right into it, in rhythm. Knocked down a couple shots in that first half. See 8 quick points. 2 for 2 from beyond the 3, and then his other shot was with his foot on the 3-point line.
Spittler with a rare shot from the floor. Sees it rim out. Rebounding foul.
Canisius out of their zone defense, really cheating to Order's side, leaving other guys wide open, but the other Peacocks have been unable to take advantage.
Pavel Malesa and the Golden Griffins trying to secure a spot in tomorrow's MAAC quarterfinals.
Success comes true.
College, success is a team effort. St. Peter's College, education one student at a time.
Canisius has its lead back to double figures. This copyrighted telecast of the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference may not be retransmitted, reproduced, or rebroadcast without the express written consent of the MAAC. There's Todd Sowell coming back out of the huddle. He has been a one-man wrecking crew for St. Peter's. He has gotten very little help from his teammates. Sowell with 15 points and 4 rebounds, shooting a good percentage, but really very few other answers for the Peacocks.
So we've seen that their last 3 games. You and I had him last week in their win at Iona, and he was a one-man wrecking crew in that game. 24 points, 17 in the second half to go along with 15 rebounds, and then their final regular season game, he led them with 15 points and 9 boards, but he's got to get help from his teammates, especially on the perimeter. We keep harping on the fact that Orta's got to step up and make some shots. He's 0 for 4, 0 for 3 from beyond the 3-point line. He's yet to hit a field goal.
Smart play by Darnell Wilson. That won't go as a rebound for him, but he knocks it back out.
Second time we've seen him do that, and again, that's something that you work on in practice. If you're unable to come up with the offensive rebound, back tap it to a teammate.
Coach Parada says we're going to go as far this weekend as our seniors take us, and both Wilson and Harris have been delivering so far tonight. 15.7 boards for Wilson, 12.7 rebounds for Harris. And there is Harris on cue, but he has it rattle out.
They haven't gotten that type of performance, though, from the third senior, Corey Herring, who has just 5 points and has missed a couple easy shots inside, not made some clean catches off a couple nice passes from Turner.
Here is Turner, the first Canisius player to win MAAC Rookie of the Year since Michael Meeks back in 1993. Putting together a terrific first season at Canisius College.
We can stop right there. 2 for 17 from beyond the 3-point line. You don't have to look at any other stats down the sheet. That's the one that jumps out at you. And the reason why St. Peter's is unable to get themselves back into the ball game, their inability to make threes over top of the zone has been consistent all game long.
And the Golden Griffin zone has just been able to pack it in around Sowell and make him really work hard for his 15 points.
It's cut off driving lanes for Spann, who likes to put the ball to the floor and get into gaps, as well as taking away Gooding along the baseline.
Turner knocked it away to Herring, running 3-on-1. Wilson gets it to Herring somehow, and Orta commits the foul.
Not quite how you diagram it, trying to get out in transition, but they'll take the end result. You see Herring right there, little smile on his face. Herring gave it up early and then coming right back at him. A little touch pass that was behind Herring. As we said, he has been the quietest member of that senior trio we were talking about, but able to convert right there.
All right. Ready? Okay. One shot.
Corey Herring, a 6'5" senior from Buffalo's time in St. Jude High School. As you say, he is the third member of this senior class who, while averaging 11 points per game, has been a little more hot and cold. You never know what you're going to get from Corey.
And a different role for him this year. He was their leading scorer and rebounder last year, but Tom Parada's been happy with the way that he's adjusted to the new role when he's been called upon to give a little bit more defense and some of the dirty work inside on the boards.
Well, this isn't just a basketball game here. Let's get you up to date with the bigger picture, brought to you by Sirius Satellite Radio. The winner of this game moves on to the quarterfinal round of the MAAC tournament tomorrow afternoon against Marist. And then you see the nightcap of our opening night doubleheader coming up between 7th-seeded Rider and number 10 Iona.
And as we said, Canisius, a team that split their regular season matchup against Marist. And certainly Siena coming in, one of the hottest teams in the MAAC as well, even though they lost that regular season finale on the road in overtime up at the McCann Center. They had won 7 straight heading into that game.
Sirius Satellite Radio with over 120 channels of commercial-free music, news, talk, and sports for the car, home, or anywhere you go. Get Sirius today and ride the big dog.
And Doug, all 4 of the top seeds are playing some of their best basketball coming down the stretch. Talked about the fact Marist on an 8-game win streak. Niagara, 8-game win streak. Siena's won 7 out of 8. And Loyola able to regroup as they were able to get Gerald Brown back. He missed a couple of games, and once he got himself healthy and back into the lineup, able to win a tough one on the road to finish up the regular season.
Yep.
With that win up at Canisius to be able to grab that 3rd seed spot.
Well, they went to Buffalo or to Western New York and split that trip, losing to Niagara and then beating Canisius. And it was a tough end of the season for Loyola. Also had the bracket buster game on the road, so they finished with 3 road games. Turner off the steal. Wilson calling for the lob, and he throws it down.
And that's a smart play. If you've got Wilson running with you, throw it up where nobody else is going to be able to get it.
The alley-oop gives Wilson 17 points. And again, the plus-minus for Darnell Wilson here tonight is off the charts. He has been clearly the difference when he's on the floor at both ends. He's made the difference for Canisius. Harris outfights so well for the rebound. By the way, it's good to see Chuck Harris with the basketball now, apparently feeling better with that knee. We saw him go down hard early in the ball game, and he's back in, helping Canisius with that 9-0 run to open up a comfortable lead.
With that comfortable lead, now Tom Parada's got to start thinking about when does he get Wilson out of the game. As we said, he and Harris, those 2 seniors. The shot clock once again winding down.
The entry pass knocked out of bounds by St. Peter's. Timeout on the floor. Darnell Wilson, the 6'6" senior from Wayne, Michigan, loves to play above the rim for the Golden Griffins, who have a 17-point lead.
This is Siena, a college that builds competence and character, where you're part of a team, a place of academic rigor that builds leaders, offering opportunity and values that prepare you for change, leadership, and life. The tradition, the community of Siena, educating for success, one student at a time.
This game is brought to you by Pepsi. More happy. I love New York. What a great vacation. ILoveNY.com. Pontiac, the official performance machines of the MAAC. And by Anaconda Sports and The Rock, the official basketball of the MAAC. Back in Bridgeport, Connecticut, let's take a look at a couple of angles on our Pepsi Slam of the game. Happened just moments ago on the alley-oop pass from Frank Turner to Darnell Wilson. Pepsi more happy.
And as we said, put it up where nobody else but Wilson's going to go get it. Nice feed from Turner. And Wilson, once again, when he can get out on the break and run the floor, and when he's got room to maneuver, he's able to put up points put up performances like that. 7 for 10 from the floor, part of that 17-point effort so far.
Pavel Malesa misfires. Orta, who has taken just one shot here in the second half, with a rebound.
And certainly credit Canisius, doing a good job shading to him out of the zone defense, but somehow Orta's got to become more aggressive.
Span, bounce pass to Gooding, who lost it on the way up. Wilson comes down with it.
As we started to talk about as we went to break, your Tom Parati is going to start thinking about when are you going to get your starters out of the game here in the next minute or so, because you come into this weekend not worrying about winning one game, but trying to win 4 games in 4 days, something that's only been done once in MAAC history. Siena back in 2002 able to run the table when the tournament was up at the old Pepsi Arena in Albany.
Now the Times Union Center.
Dwayne Archibald and Andy Cavo and Prosper Karanga with terrific tournaments. Archibald the MVP as they were able to win those 4 games in 4 days. Always a tough assignment.
And then they went on to win an NCAA tournament game over Alcorn State in the 64-65 game. And actually, then in the first round game against Maryland, played the Terps about as well as you could ever expect for a team that went on to win the national title.
You see that short bench for St. Peter's that we've been talking about. Injuries, suspensions, and guys leaving the program has certainly not left John Dunn with a whole lot of options. Done a good job out on the recruiting trail and gotten a couple commitments in the early signing period. Wesley Jenkins, fine guard out of Bloomfield Tech, and Jordan Costner out of Seton Hall Prep, 2 guys from North Jersey, able to step in and help out. And part of a recruiting class that'll give Dunn some more options next year.
And the fact of the matter is this St. Peter's team has only the one senior, Kinsey Reeves, so the rest of the core should be back next year.
When you have a short bench, you get yourself late into games. Sometimes it's tough to score, as Soel gets a real easy one inside, but that's the first bucket for St. Peter's in the last 8.5 minutes of play. They went ice cold coming down the stretch, just ran out of gas.
Yeah, Soel, as you see the numbers here tonight, we've already told you that he's the all-time shot block leader in school history. He's got 825 career points. He's also on pace to become the all-time rebounding leader in St. Peter's history. There is Soel with a chance for a 3-point play.
They're able to clean it up. Orta finally gets a shot attempt off, but it's in transition in the lane, not where you expect him to spot up beyond the 3-point line. But Soel doing what he does so well, attack the offensive glass. Had a terrific sophomore year last year when he really burst on the scene. Led the league in rebounds at over 10 boards per game. Was a 3rd-team All-MAAC last year when his team had a better year. Got themselves the championship game. Finished above 500. A lot easier to find yourself on one of those postseason teams.
Now under 2 minutes to go. The starter's still in there for Canisius. And as you said, as Turner turns it over, got to figure that the Golden Griffins reserves would get on the floor before too long. Span with an air ball on the baseline drive.
They talk about Orta struggling. So has Span. The backcourt for St. Peter's basically coming up empty.
Tom Parata calls a timeout. Gathers his troops out by the free throw line and trying to exhort them to finish out the game strong. Meanwhile, John Dunn realizes only 1:20 remaining in this season. And it appears the Golden Griffins will get another chance tomorrow to take on Marist in the quarterfinal round. There's a good look at Darnell Wilson, our Pepsi player of the game. Pepsi more happy. And so it's survive and advance mode here in Bridgeport this weekend, and Canisius will survive and advance, and Wilson will have at least one more game in his college career.
That's certainly his effort, especially in the first half, Doug, when they were sluggish and found themselves on the wrong end of a long run by St. Peter's as they stretched out that lead in the first half. He's on the bench with those 2 fouls. He came in, played aggressive, and woke his team up. Got a couple scores inside. All of a sudden, able to settle things down, and then he was able to take over at times in the second half.
Soft-looking jump shot from just inside the free throw line, and so Wilson now with 19 points to lead the Golden Griffins.
And once again, we showed that graphic early on that over their last 7 games, opponents were averaging 83 points per game against Canisius. Well, certainly it's been their defense here. They've played well out of the zone, have certainly shaded to Orta, done a good job making sure that Orta and Span did knock down threes. And now Tom Parada will get a couple guys in off the bench, as his starters have certainly done a terrific job here defensively tonight.
There's a 3 by Orta. Much anticipated, but far too late. And so the St. Peter's team, a school that is a charter member of the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference, is just 32 seconds away from seeing what has been one of the longest seasons in that run come to an end. Coach Parada calls a timeout. St. Peter's, meanwhile, will end the year at 5-25. They went 3-15 during the conference season. But there will be better days in Jersey City. You can count on that.
And for Canisius, they stopped the slide, as we said, coming in on the 8-game losing streak. Even though they were playing decent basketball down the stretch, they were not rewarded in the win column, and so able to get off the 8-game losing streak with a win here in the first round.
Starling with a terrific look, and James throws it down. Richard Starling, a freshman walk-on from Rahway, New Jersey, looks very comfortable picking up the assist. Sowell with the putback. He now has 21 points to lead all scorers.
Well, he finished the season strong, finishing the game strong. He was the lone bright spot for the Peacocks.
There's the horn, 62-48. Canisius with the victory, led by senior forward Darnell Wilson. It's on to the quarterfinal round and a meeting tomorrow with top-seeded Marist, a 4 o'clock tip-off, to see if the Golden Griffins can pull the big upset.
Well, they were able to split the regular season, pulled the upset on their home court against the Red Foxes, and so that gives them some confidence certainly heading into that quarterfinal matchup.
And so we take a look at the MAAC Championship Tournament brackets, brought to you by Sirius Satellite Radio. Ride the big dog, and 62-48, we've got our first final score with the Griffs moving on to take on the Foxes.
And as we said, Canisius came in and they defended, doing a good job out of the zone defense, holding St. Peter's to just 48 points.
The coach is coming over to join us. We'll take a break, set things up, and we'll have Tom Parada joining Rob Kennedy when we return to the arena at Harbor Yard in Bridgeport.
MAAC fans can win great prizes in the MAAC Pathmark Slam Dunk program at area Pathmark stores. Use your Pathmark Advantage card to buy select Capri Sun Base 10 packs or Capri Sun Roaring Waters. Select Kool-Aid Jammers 10 packs or select Nabisco single serve tray packs. And you're entered to win a Pathmark gift card and round trip travel on JetBlue Airways or a gift card from FYE. For information, visit your local Pathmark store or MAACsports.com.